Hi, this is Alex Perella. This is 15th of December 2015. This is video number 7. Look, this is gonna be a very long video, so I'm sorry about that. But 2015 has been very active in many ways. A lot of things happen over the year, and I'm trying to be very short in my descriptions. But yeah, I'll do my best. But it's gonna be boring, perhaps. But it's my story, is what I want to put on record, and just in case, I start by mentioning things that I forgot before. I think they are important, like for example, the confusion about my previous name. Um, in this case, I remember that there was a medical certificate from the GP and mental health from a mental health treatment plan back in 2012, and it was signed by Dr. Wong, but it was using my old name. I don't know why. The same happened with Dr. Jacobs in March 2013. He used my old name to make a psychological report and that was never done after that. I always been used my legal name. Another curiosity. Um, in regards to, for example, I remember that it was very hard to find a bulk billing in psychiatry, some bulk billing basis, and I remember that the first 2 consultations were paid by the agency of Stara. Well, for the remaining part, which was not covered, about $58 each session, and I remember that they refunded me that money, and after that it was totally free. So I never paid any single dollar for the consultations for almost 2 years with Dr. Lamash. So it's very strange that the first 2 sessions were it was something to pay, and the rest nothing was it was any kind of money to pay from my part. The other thing that I forgot, that during this last 2.5 years, I suppose, I found an ad on Gumtree. I decided to do some volunteering because I was sick of not having any success in my job search. So I decided, why not do volunteering, for me to get some sort of practice in my profession and sort of stuff. So I found this ad on Gumtree for an organization called Hope Child Africa. I talked to the CEO of the organization, Belinda Buchanan, and we talked about the phone, but never heard from her. So obviously they didn't want my services even for free. And most importantly, what I forgot to tell, and I haven't said before, is something that I forgot to tell. Is very important to prove, or trying to prove, that the situation, or my situation, is coming back from before Rambler, 2007, before that. And I remember the situation back in 2006 when I was working in Alternative Fire Services, and I was the accountant, and the Stuart Arnold Levy was my boss there, and Tony Bates was the owner. And the thing, I was working closely with the Stuart, and he used to be I used to do the accounting and taxation, all the usual stuff. He used to do all the administration, all the dealing with the on-site managers, all sort of stuff. So it was more abarcative in terms of other things, because it was my boss. But it was an exception to that. He gave me a file from a guy called Colin Holt, and he was a truck driver, and he suffered an accident, and he decided to give me that file to me to handle that. And I said, "You're giving me this folder, and it's not something that you should do. I want you to do that." He told me, "I want you to handle this case." Okay. So it was the only case that I handled over there, the only one. I never over that period of time, over those months. Eventually, I gathered all the information in the folder, and it was some medical certificates, and I tried to contact the guy. He was at home, And so I lodged a claim with CGU. They were cover company here, and after a few days they decided I was not eligible for that claim, and that was it. So I was pretty much giving some bad news, if you like, but it's something that is normal in the workplace. And that brings me to the a few months after that, I got this job at Rambler, and it happens that this lady who I've been linked non-stop ever since. Her name was Carly Holt, and apparently this guy was her brother-in-law. So his husband brother. Her husband was name was, I think, was Tim or something like that. And I remember that because she left conveniently she left a letter on the photocopy machine for me to read. So there's the only few things that I know about her. And the thing is, ever since I've been, and it's something that I haven't said before because many of you think that perhaps I'm crazy or something. I have some mental problems, and which is something that they try to push over the years. But the thing is, I noticed that I have the ability to get some psychic message. So believe it or not, especially since I started living on my own in 2006. The thing is that this woman has the same ability apparently. She was very good at delivering some messages in regards to anguish or pain or that sort of thing. They're giving them emotions, and that is a thing that I've been present, especially since 2007 onwards. Believe it or not, I've been able to maintain some sort of conversation on this through this way. I think I regard myself like a rational guy. I don't take any pills or any. I sleep very well at night. Of course, I am stressed because of lack of money, lack of social life, isolation, etc., etc. But I got the ability apparently, and I always have been able to hear what she said and the way around. She always knew what I was saying, without speaking. So the thing is, I started to hear these messages, and I've been hearing all along from this a woman who portray herself as this woman, Carly Holt. And the thing is, I've been hearing these messages. I've been having these conversations, if you like it. I don't know how you call it, non-stop until May this year. In May this year, somehow it's changed. So there is a new guy. I think it's a male. I think it's a gay person who pretends to be a woman, and well, sometimes it's a bit disturbing because I don't have feelings for males. I'm straight, you know what I mean? That is that how I am, and I detected that. I think that he's aware of that, but he's still communicating and still having the same sort of relationship in terms of communication that it was before. And this is very important because I found these conflicting messages of her telling me that she used to do good things for me, and when I went out, I found that it was not the case at all. I found it was like an evil game, and it's still at play. The same sort of game that is going on now. It's telling me that they're trying to do some good and or something like that, but when I go out, they treat me like shit. Sorry about my language. And the thing is, I wanted to explain that before because it's always happening. Since Sandringham 2000, I started 2007. All the places that I've been living until now, including this one, I feel like it's this person who is this psychic who is talking to me is somewhere around the house or in a nearby house or something like that, very close. And that brings me to the fact that these homes that have been rooming houses or private houses that I've been living or sharing with other people, they have always been pretty much following the same pattern of having this person decided around in another place and talking to me and having these conversations, if you like. It sounds crazy. I know that perhaps it sounds crazy, but it's my story. So I'm gonna go into more detail later on, but for now I think it's enough. I'm gonna start 2015 telling that on the January the 5th, Centrelink made a deduction from my payment of the total of the amount and money that I made at Morrow's Freelance in November last year. Supposedly I didn't declare that, so I went to the Centrelink London office. They made me wait a lot as usual, and a female employee talked to me and said at some point, maybe you should write a letter to the Prime Minister, she said to me. So she obviously knew what I've been doing. Actually, I did it and sold to the one who was in office before and the present one. Maybe you know something that I don't, I told her. And she gave me the number, the debt team, something like that, to call. Well, it was a long, one of the long encounters over there, and painful ones, I suppose, I believe. And that was pretty much it. On the January the 8th, appointment with Dr. Vermaas. He told me that I thought too much. You think too much, he told me. January the 9th, appointment with, maybe, I don't know, maybe I was being that way. January the 9th, appointment with Martina at the bridge. I mentioned her letter to the Prime Minister. January the 11th, Dave, the guy who I was living with, Dave O'Toole, showed up this morning and showed me a new car. He never had a car. He never drove a car when all the time that I was living there. He bought a Holden station wagon 2004. He said that he bought it for 4,000. That's something hard to believe. It's more expensive than that. On the January the 12th, apart from the new car, he started to go out more often and spend more money and food, etc. Hard to believe for a guy who was supposed to live in a pension. January 14th, since I started to notice some strange changes in regards to Dave's lifestyle, I decided to look for another room. So I started to get worried about to get preoccupied about that. So I called Easy, the guy who I was living with before, among others. He said that all his rooms were full. On the 23rd of January, appointment with Martina at the bridge from employment. For the first time, I told her that I'd like to leave. I found that there was not any opportunity for me here in this country. She asked me where, and I replied I didn't know, but I was sick of being blacklisted, which I think it was the case. On the January the 30th, call from Cherry. She said that she was being bashed up by his boyfriend and needed to move in the house. She said that we were going to. She said that He said that we were going to split the cost of the rent. He asked me if I was going to stay. I answered I was looking for a cheaper room, actually. But nobody wanted to let me a room back then, to be honest with you, and it's something that happened after that, and always happened. He said that he was going to make the move shortly. On February the 2nd, appointment with the hairdresser. Back then was Nicole. Unexpectedly, she made a comment about Vicky. She asked me, "Do you know anything about your daughter?" She never made those sort of comments before, so I got really upset about that. It sounded like a threat of a warning, so I never. I stopped seeing her. On February the 6th, appointment with Dr. Vermaas again, another bizarre encounter. I told him about my lack of social life, and he laughed a bit about it. And I told him it was not funny for me. At some point, I told him I was the at some point I told him that I was the one who decided to end my marriage with my ex, with Betty, and he seemed surprised to hear that. Like he thought that there was another woman involved, which was not the case at all. That was important to me, coming from him. February the 12th, February the 12th, another appointment with Martina, more waste of time. Cherry said that he was having problems with his boyfriend and was coming to live in the house. The same day, I learned that Chris Gallagher left the company, CIPSA, the guy who I met before in 2014, in January. Despite his previous announcements on Facebook, he was going to Singapore to work for the organization, and also that a new appointment was made for the position, General GM, although I couldn't find the official announcement from CIPSA. His name was Mark Lamb. February the 17th in the morning, David knocked at my door to tell me that a kidney donor was found. He never told me he was waiting for an organ donor. He said that it takes several years. Nevertheless, last time I saw it, he was doing a normal life. So perhaps it was more bullshit usual from these guys. On the February the 22nd, both Cherry and Dave started to behave in a very strange way. Cherry, especially Cherry. March the 2nd, I went for a jog to a nearby park. March the 4th, appointment with Martina, more indications about coppers. March the 6th, appointment at Spring Valley Center related to the renewal of Niels, the loan for the registration. Appointment with Howe. In the same day, since there was another GM at CIPSA, I decided to follow up my meeting with them from previous year. Talked to Karina and asked her to pass the message on the new MD. Later appointment with never heard from them. Appointment with Dr. March the same day. He seemed a bit upset about the situation. On March the 10th, went for a jog to the oval nearby, and I felt like it was some sort of attacked in some way, and from a mental point of view, I don't know. It's hard to explain, but look, you can think whatever you like, that I'm crazy or whatever you like, but I felt that way back then. On the March the 20th, another appointment at the bridge with Martina. It was very agitated meeting with her. Finally, telling that she told me that we need to try something else. On the 21st of March, went for a bike ride and again attacked. It was an incredible headache back then. On the 28th of March, at this point, I noticed some big changes in their lifestyle of the guys at home. The medical supplies and unopened boxes from Baxter, a lot of them. New clothes, free cars. Cherry was driving a Holden Cruise and a Commodore, and the other guy a station wagon. Plenty of food. Cherry has a new laptop, and they come and go. Davis had the RACB membership, Collingwood membership. They come and so they was supposed they were supposed to live on a pension, and it was beyond that. Those because I couldn't. I never was able to do that life at all. I'm struggling with the money. Something I explained repeatedly. But look, it's what I was saying, and that worries me. That worried me a lot back then, and I was really worried about that. So, also following a visit to the house of a guy I never met before, those days with Cherry. It was with him, the guy. Cherry told me, you know my boyfriend Brian, he was here. He told me for visit days before, and I looked at him and said, wondering what he meant, and I never heard that. I never seen that guy. So, but I was seeing his Facebook page and Cherry's my Facebook page, and I saw a photo, and probably he saw that when I was because I was convinced they were able to see what I was doing in the computer, like now, for example, and they are doing it to this day. So he made a mistake there because I never met that guy. I saw the picture on my computer, on the Facebook. I used to go around with Facebook pages, uh, he noticed his mistake, I think, and he was really angry about that. He also bought a booster, one of these extenders for the Wi-Fi connection that we had, the internet connection that we had in the house. It was not a big house, but he bought one of those boosters. I've been thinking and reporting them these days because of the activities that we're doing and the fact that I was unable to find another place. On the 29th of March, I went for a jog to St. Kilda Beach, something I did many times in the past. When I go to the restaurants area near the pier, there were a lot of well, there were some strange faces looking at me, so I was feeling a bit unpleasant, uncomfortable. Completed the circuit and left. On the 30th of March, problems with the internet connection. We never had this kind of problems with Telstra before, although it was a Wi-Fi connection as well. By the way, Cherry asked me for the because we changed the internet provider because Cherry asked us to do that, and we changed from Telstra to Optus, and because he was downloading a lot of stuff, movies, I don't know. I went to see him to his room and asking about the problems with the internet connection. He was nervous. He blamed the booster. Another appointment at Centrelink Springvale with a guy who didn't seem like a Centrelink employee to me, to be honest, and a lot of questions. I'm telling him I tried all the jobs like dinner. He quickly changed the subject. I mentioned briefly the situation at home with the guys, but again he turned to another topic. When I got home, Cherry was nowhere to be seen. He showed up at night. On the 31st of March, at this point was more noticeable for me that my phone was hacked, and Dave was able to see what I was doing apart from my PC, cameras in the house, etc., etc. Keep applying for jobs anyway. On the April the 3rd, appointment with Dr. Dayadi. I chat about SIPSA. I asked him if my daughter would be in danger. And he said it was not the case. He answered while looking down. I found a little rat in my room. That never happened before or after that. Dave started slamming the doors of his car, something that remaining still I hear here still until today from the neighbor as well, other people, sort of, I don't know, warning or something like that. I noticed Jerry goes for a stroll with his little dog more often in the neighborhood. He's got a little dog, and he used to go for a walk in a place nearby, but he spent a lot of time over there. April the 5th, more strange behavior from neighbors at 28 and 24 and across the road. On April the 6th, jog at the Oval, another jog at the Oval in the park. Was angry cricketers playing in the Oval, and there was some sort of menacing faces as well. I don't know. On the 7th of April, appointment with Martina. She didn't mention any calling. On April the 8th, chat with Cherry about at some point he told me I'm gonna take my chances. I don't know what he meant with that. April the 9th, more problems with the internet connection. The 11th, problems with my PC this time. It's like something has been installed on it, provoking random shutdowns. Perhaps at Centricom Clayton they know what they're doing when they repair the computer last time. On the 15th of April, after days of thinking about it, I decided to call the ACO at night. I talked to John, described the situation at home. He asked me about Cherry's and Dave's mobile numbers. When I looked for them, Dave's number and messages were gone from my phone, and I was really surprised about that. He wasn't, I believe, but I could get that number and the text message from a previous handset that I kept in the storage. So I retrieved that information from the old handset and gave it to him. He was a bit surprised that I was able to get that number, so he gave me a reference number. I also gave him the number plates of the cars as well. On the 16th of April, more problems with the Wi-Fi internet connection with Optus. Some papers disappeared from my room. Apparently, they now the combination of my briefcase. I don't know how. On the 17th of April, second call to ACO. This time I spoke to Monica. I mentioned the same, plus more information regarding last jobs, etc. My suspicions. Also, white vine that came by the house the previous night. This is something that I mentioned to her as well. This white van came by the house at about 6 o'clock in the afternoon to fix the fridge, according to to Cherry, but never came back. On the April the 18th, another incident with the duo in the kitchen where while watching footy. They were really aggressive that night. I don't know what was going on. Cherry told me he's attending to AA meetings in Berwick every Wednesday. Alcoholics Anonymous, I think it is. Watching TV and more warnings from, because I think that back in Argentina there are people interested as well in my situation, so I think that I understood there are more threats from a channel called C5N, a guy who is called Pablo Cablan. On the 20th of April, after several problems with the internet connection, Cherry booked for today a technician from Optus. He was not around, believe it or not, because we have problems that he was not around. The guy from Optus came over, Amir. He said that the booster could be the problem for the drop-offs. He checked outside connection, but not the modem. He gave me the website to check the speed of the connection and password. But I tried later, and the password was changed. So I have to think that the technician was at some point was part of the same thing. I don't know. The 23rd of April, one of my Yahoo emails addresses from my phone is gone. More proof that my phone is manipulated somehow. Appointment with Martina. I described the situation at home and my desperation to find another place as soon as possible. She asked me about the nationality of Cherry and Dave. I told her that I didn't know that information. I never talked to them about that. Their accent was very Aussie for me. At the end of our meeting, she offered me a call center position with inbound calls, and I said I was, and she said that it was cold outside. Actually, it was 17 degrees. No cold calling offer this time from her. When I got home, a conversation with Cherry. He asked me if I was searching for something. I assumed that I thought. I answered that I thought I was blacklisted, and he said, if you didn't do anything wrong, you shouldn't be worried. I said, I've been unemployed for more than 6 years and isolated from family and friends. That is my perception. Later that day, activating my new debit card with HSBC over the phone, I was asked a lot of questions as how I opened the bank account with them back in 2005. They emphasized that I should answer that it was online, not at their branch in Collins Street in Melbourne. On the 24th of April, more hostile environment at Ali. Noticed a pattern from previous house at 28 Jacksons with the front door open long hours. That it was the same back in 2007 with the unit nearby. They're playing with the security lights as well, something that's still happening sometimes with the house across the road sometimes here. On the 24th of April, David takes unusual early walks to a place nearby. I asked him about his kidney transplant. He replied that the legislation in US was different, with no waiting list, and his problem would have been solved over there. But the case is that there is a waiting list for organs in US as well. Cherry was angry in the afternoon and called me queer in Spanish, and as he was leaving the house, I noticed that they don't need at home much. They don't need at home much. I don't know where, but Incident with the probably in a house nearby. Incident with the postman when delivering the parcel for Cherry, almost one per week. He was to buy things on eBay almost once a week. More problems with my PC. On the 26th of April, picked up the check from Springvale Aid Center for the registration of my car for the loan, but I couldn't pay it either at the counter at Australia Post or at Big Roads. I was it has to be by mail for the first time. So I sent the check by mail at the Springvale Post Office. On the 28th of April, on my way back from Waverley Gardens, a car hit me from behind while I was waiting for the traffic lights. The guy stepped out of his car, walked towards me. I didn't roll down the window of my car though. He apologized and went back to his car. The Australian Electoral Commission had some problems to determine whether I'm enrolled to vote or not. Actually, I did it several times before in this country, since 2004, I think. Yeah. Oh no, actually 2006, because I became citizen in 2006, Australian citizen in 2006. On the 29th of April, I got a suspicion that my unit at the storage King Karen Downs has been visited somehow. The first suspicion was back then. 30th of April, more insults from Cherry as he on his way out. This time, dickhead. He was really upset with me. And the same day, appointment with Dr. Lee, I told him about the problems at home. He laughed a little bit about it. I think that he knows what is going on. He suggested that the guys at home, they might be involved in drug trafficking activities. Curiously enough, he asked me about their nationality as well. So the same answer. I don't know. I didn't know. Some question asked by Martina, and he also asked me if they were in a relationship. He probably. I said probably, but I'm not sure. It's not my business anyway. But probably, but I didn't know. No news from the inspection. No news from the inspection to the house from McLennan, scheduled for July the previous year. Never heard from them. They never inspected the house like they promised, as far as I know. On May the 1st, because I spend all day at home, you know what I mean, like now. So my life is very boring because of the restriction of the money that I get from Centrelink. That is the point here. One of the points. May the 1st, a strange incident on my way out from Waverley Gardens with a guy yelling at me, "Where is Tony?" And I suppose it's regards to the letter that I wrote to him. I don't know. I called ACO again. I talked to Mike. He said that he didn't have any feedback from anyone. He notified agencies and so he didn't have any feedback from the things that I told him. I was really worried about that. At the end, he told me that I was a real motherfucker. I don't know why he told me that, but he told me that. Believe it or not, he told me that. And on the 5th of May, I decided to go to Springvale Police Station because I was sick, you know, and I went there to the Springvale Police Station. I've been there before. So I met there a female senior constable. Her name was Heath, and I described the situation at home. The lifestyle beyond limits of the pension, Cherry's incident with Facebook, boyfriend, kidney transplant, boxes unopened, Optus problem with Optus connection, all the whole lot. Missing documents from my room because I didn't have any proper door. And she said that she didn't see anything suspicious. She didn't take any statements. She mentioned financial crimes at some point. She asked me if they were in a relationship. And I told her it was not my business, but likely. She asked me if all the problems started with when Cherry moved in, and I said no. I thought that it was started before when I started living there, when I moved into the house. She also asked me, what if David's running a business online from his room? And I said, look, his guy, it's a very tiny room. He has no PC, no clients at all. So I don't know what kind of business. I replied, and in regards of medical supplies boxes, she asked me, what is in the boxes? And I said, I don't know. I don't go into other people's things. You know what I mean? I don't do that. I suppose in medical supplies. She also suggested perhaps Cherry was in the prostitution business. I'm not quite sure about that. On the she checked their registration numbers in the back of the office. She said that there was not any problem with their cards, with the free cards that I mentioned to her. She finally told me, what if they receive an inheritance? Well, I replied to her, well, I wouldn't live in that tiny room if that was the case, you know. At that point, I felt that she was laughing at me, and so I raised my voice a little bit, and I told her that I should have called to Crime Stoppers instead of coming over there. You know, the Crime Stoppers ad on TV, and she seemed absolutely clueless about that. She paused. She was absolutely surprised about that. She didn't react. So later I understood that why the duo at home were eager that I should go that day. Perhaps that she didn't belong to that place, and I know the next morning. The same I perceived the night before when I was watching A Current Affair with Tracy Grimshaw saying that something that about making the report next morning, because the media has their part as well on this misery that I'm living here. Did she know something? I don't know. But she also recommended this officer, this senior constable, she also recommended me to go to Centrelink to report the situation at home, because in the end she said that, oh, the things that you are describing me are more things that will be more useful for Centrelink than for me. So that she recommended me to go to Centrelink to report the situation. On May the 6th, appointment with Martina. Apply for different jobs. She called one in Dandenong in front of me, and they hung up on her. I told her that I suspect of everyone, including herself. She was upset. I asked her to make our appointments less frequent, considering they were a waste of time. She gave me a new one for the 22nd of May. On my way up, she advised me to be alert, since there were a lot of heat outside. I left that day a message on Nigel Waldroper's voicemail. It's JD's friend, trying to find some answers. Never heard from him. On the May the 7th, early in the morning, more menacing faces from customers and employees, because of I don't know why. Because of lack of money, I decided not to pay the rent to Cherry. I told him that I was robbed. He didn't try to get me out though. I called Mike again on the 7th from ACO. He told me that the investigation can take months. I mentioned my conversation with Senior Constable Huff, and he recognized her name. He also told me that he needed hard evidence. So I asked him if I was suspected. It was expected from me to do their job. You know what I mean? Because to provide hard evidence, I don't have the resources for that. So I called Ames. To get my life more entertained, I called Ames, an organization in Dandenong, for a volunteering course and for English for migrants with Daniela Silgegovich. On the 8th of May, I went to the National Bank to deposit the money of the rent back into my bank account. The cashier seemed to know what was going on, and also the cashier at Safeway when buying my groceries there. At home were more blunders from Cherry. She told me that the cruise was a gift from his boyfriend Brian, and the Commodore was in loan from a friend. But Constable Huff told me nothing was wrong with the cars, as if both were under Cherry's name. Nevertheless, the same day he approached me to recommend me to seek help to deal with my problems with depression and not adjusting to this society due to my language barriers, as was said. I replied I didn't have any problems with depression, and he later apologized. I told him about the disappearance of Dave's mobile phone number and messages from my phone, and the speeding fine that has been paid out. I don't know who paid, and by someone else. He said that strange things happen. That was his answer. Try to find him a room, but nobody wanted to let me one. Experience with Al and Brian, neighbors at 28 with front door open, long hours again. And they made the 11th appointment in the morning with Daniela at Ames in Dandenong. She said that you look Russian. There's something weird. She told me nobody told me. She told me, and nobody told me that before. She also introduced me to Gladys, a lady from Rosario in Argentina, who was the manager of all the tutors over there. Met other people too. When I got back, I found a parking fine in my car, $74 back then, and now I checked that the value of that fine is $239.20, like a license for a robbery. At Safeway, several guys walking around without buying anything. At home, Cherry was not at home, so I checked that our network. So I decided to do some tests, and I checked the network, our network, and detected that 2 users connected, whereas it should have been only myself connected. So I unplugged the booster. And asked Dave if he was connected. He said that he was not. He was using his phone with another internet service provider. So as soon as I did it, the other user was gone. So only myself, meaning that there was another usage outside the house, which was done through the booster that he was eager to install in the house. I mentioned it to Cherry when he got back. We have an argument. She called me names. I'm doing you a favor, Hilarious. He said that he was calling the police, and I said, go for it. They made the 12th first training session at Ames. They seemed to know about me. The trainer was Mirel, a Chilean woman. May the 14th at the Europa Market, buying some groceries, more coffee. May the 15th, email from Martina saying they will let me go to another agency. 16th, because I was complaining about their service, and the 16th of May, I applied for dozens of jobs, including one as funeral attendant. Vicky called me when I was outside doing the laundry, didn't leave a message. I called her back, and but I haven't heard from her that week. A call on the 18th, a call from Careers Australia. Actually, it was a phony number offering me a diploma in business and administration. On the 19th of May, the guy from Baxter resumed deliveries of boxes with medical supplies for Dave. Last time that I saw him. On the 20th of May, sick of the situation at home, and in general, I called Centrelink to organize an appointment to report the situation at home, as the constable have suggested. By doing this, it meant a lot of phone calls with Centrelink trying to get that appointment. Because they tried to appoint me, they gave me an appointment at Springvale, at Centrelink Springvale. I didn't want to go back there. So I decided to I didn't want to come back to that Springvale office and Centrelink. On the 25th of May, another argument with Cherry about the rent. The conversation became a bit agitated, but I proposed a payment plan for them. He agreed. Appointed with Martina, I told her about suspicions about Dr. Damage and other things without any result. On the 22nd of May, neighbors at 28 kept their front door open again. Long hours with cold weather. Wrote a letter to Pope Francis, CNN, Alex Jones, New York Times. No answer. 25th of May, finally, after many phone calls, I managed to organize an appointment at Centrelink in Dandenong. Argument with the female employee at the counter, later with a woman called a lady called Ashika, not a supervisor. And I reported the situation at home again, all the names, etc., etc. I called Martina to tell her about what happened at Centrelink, and she started to cough very loud over the phone like that. Something that they do all the time. On the 26th of May, I called a close relative in Argentina and told him of my intentions to come back, but the money was a huge impediment, of course, and as it is today, and the lack of work, etc. On the 28th of May, tutoring someone very shortly at Ames, appointment with Dr. D. I asked him if he thought I was drunk or had any sort of addictions. He denied that. And in the end, he told me that he could help me to get a pension for disability, and said I was not interested. At some point, I mentioned to him the CIA about the last developments in my life. He didn't seem surprised at all. Well, I said that no to the pension because I don't have any kind of problems with my health, either mental or physical. Fortunately, so far, that's the main reason. On June the 1st, cars continue to honk in their horns after many months. Neighbors said, I don't know, this is still happening sometimes, not very rare now. 28, number 28 left number 20. The neighbors at 28 left the front door open with freezing temperatures outside for long hours. The second During the second, confusion with Centrelink Springvale when my preferred branch was standing on. They threatened me with payment suspension if I didn't attend. At night, Ames, a lot of coughing, plus messages, warnings. A woman called Sue Ann saying she's been to Spain, and other indications where I suppose there were some sort of warnings about Betty. I don't know, because she's got the nationality, Spain nationality as well, Spanish nationality. June the 4th, told Cherry of my intentions to leave the country as soon as possible. He in return told me that he was planning, or it was my intention, but he didn't have the money. So he in return told me that he was planning to marry his boyfriend in November, and therefore leaving the house to return to the farm. Lately, lately he was leaving Sunday morning and returning on Wednesday morning, saying that he was going to the farm. I never believed that shit. He said that he was planning to marry the same guy who used to bash him up. I think he's in a relationship with Dave, though. On this June the 5th, Daniela is struggling to find a student for me to tutor. Appointment with Martina, threatening me by saying that I should attend to the appointment at Springvale, otherwise a deduction will be made from my payment. On June the 9th, last session at Ames. On June the 11th, Centrelink partial payment, they restored it later. New appointment at Centrelink landed on 23rd of June. On the June the 12th, went to the storage at Karen Downs to take photos of washing machine, fridge, microwave, sell on eBay. I couldn't sell anything of that. I never had any kind of offer at all. Very few. After that, I thought it would be a good idea to go to the Peninsula Skate World Club, the club that Vicky used to practice skating, which is very close to the storage, and try to get some information about Vicky. Simon Reeves was the trainer, was not there, was not around. I talked to Robin, the new manager. She said that she knew about Vicky. She saw her a few times. I talked to Perry Rollinson, the same girl that I mentioned before. She didn't recognize me at first. She said that Vicky was on exams period and she looked a bit spooked. But that was it. So I left. So they basically told me that she was going on occasions to do some practice on skating, but that's it. On June the 13th, miraculously, Vicky, after almost 2.5 years, called me and we talked long over the phone. So I think the visit to the club was effective. She told me that she was studying at Monash University, working at Safeway on shifts, living with her mum. She told me that she needed more time before seeing me again. She promised to talk to me on a weekly basis, although she didn't do it regularly. June the 14th, for some weeks until now, I noticed the voice who had been talking pretty much since May 07, a woman, something that I mentioned before, was replaced by a man, mostly a guy who is pretending to be a woman, although he's that I mentioned that before. On June the 16th, more BS from guys at 28, trucks parking outside. The trucks parking outside, it was always some sort of warning about this guy that I mentioned before at first, who I never met. I never heard from him. Well, I don't have any reasons to, because I never had any kind of affair or relationship with this woman. So why should I be worried about this guy? Why? I don't know. But they kept they keep doing that. They keep doing that. Like warning me like with the truck drivers or parking the truck on the street. I don't care. I don't have anything to hide. Um, I never had any kind of relationship with anybody. By the way, I have casual encounters with women, but no serious relationship since I got divorced. And that is the truth. Um, Also received the tutoring certificate from Ames on the mail. On the 17th of June, more problems with Vodafone. I wonder if they were somehow responsible for the disappearance of Dave's phone number and messages associated back in April 2015. On June the 18th, moved from Vodafone to Virgin. On the 19th, went to the city for a stroll. Bizarre experience at times. On the 22nd of June, Daniela from Ames called me and said I will start tutoring later today. Called Mike again to Asia. We had a long conversation, and I said to him, I remember I came to this country looking for a job, etc., etc. At some point, I asked him if Cherry and Dave worked for him. He made a long pause before denying it. On the June the 23rd, finally an appointment with the job capacity assessor, the one that I was pushing for weeks, trying to improve my situation in terms of work and sort of stuff. And this appointment certainly was on the first floor with Kate, the same woman that I met back in 2013, who gave me the 1 year break from regular appointments with job service providers. I explained the delicate situation at home with the duo, etc. I gave her the same information detail. I told her that I needed to move out urgently from the house for the things that I was seeing, that I needed a job. She asked me if I wanted a job rather than a pension. I said, of course, I wanted a job. She also said I should attend to the appointment at Breach Employment for 26th of June. It was a few days after that. And she also told me that she wasn't working for Centrelink. She was an external consultant working for Centrelink. I didn't believe it either, because I think that's the same woman that I saw back in the magistrate court back in 2012. Suggested a change of the GSP, though she didn't ask for any medical report, despite the fact that she was a psychologist. That day she didn't tell me anything about her decision. So we said goodbye, but she didn't tell me anything about her decision. So the next day, on the 24th, I went to check the website and the Centrelink, and I noticed that the appointment with the Breach on 26 was cancelled, despite the fact that she told me that I should attend and to that appointment, and also that I was moved from another agency when we have discussed that, although she suggested that, but we haven't discussed in detail. I called Martina, and she said that she didn't know anything about it. I called Centrelink, talked to Evelyn, and said perhaps the decision was made due to the fact contract between Breach and Centrelink was going to expire on the July the 1st. I called the Breach and I denied emphatically. Evelyn also told me that back in 2015 it was decided to give me a break for 2 years, which I haven't been told about that at all, and assigned me to agencies with people with disabilities. It wasn't my case. I never had any kind of disability. It's something nobody told me before. And more importantly, they never provided a medical certificate. I never provided a medical certificate, such for the only one at first when I started to see this guy. But never justifying such a long break is what I mean. And I was stressed because of all the situation. And still I'm stressed, but I was a bit more back then. But that's it. I never taken any kind of pills or anything like that. On the 24th of June, I called Victoria Legal Aid, seeking for legal assistance. On the 27th of June, call from Vicky. I always have the impression that although she sounds genuine, she's still somehow pressed to give some bullshit. On the 29th of June, job interview at the restaurant in Saudi Arabia with Chapelis with a guy called John Ferris. On the train, a lot of coughing and menacing faces. During our meeting, we talked about payroll, customer near the airport, working with my ABN, and promised a lot of work. He promised to call me later that day. He didn't. So I called him back and said that he said that he didn't know if his client would accept an old guy like me to work for them. More bullying. So I replied that bullshit with an email with my story and reasons of probably his behavior. The next day, later talked to Diwa about the changing the provider back in the bridge. Victoria Legal Aid answered me they couldn't help me, and I should call Centrelink and lodge a complaint with them. I talked to Glenda and said I was back with them. On the 1st of July, appointment with the bridge with Glenda. Martina was on maternity leave, although she never mentioned she was pregnant. But the guys at the neighbors at 28 was slamming their rubbish bins with fury, and they were angry about that, about something, I don't know. On the July the 2nd, I called Centrelink, lodged a complaint with the Centrelink regarding the last appointment with Kate. Miranda agreed with my appeal of the case decision. So at first, the appeal of the decision was accepted. On July the 3rd, went to the city for a stroll, including Crown Casino. On the 5th of July, call from Vicky. On the 7th, reposted bookkeeping services ad on Gumtree. Email. I never received any kind of phone call from anybody asking me for my services. Email from Dedica Meets regarding the bookkeeper position. On the 8th of July, call from Centrelink. Kala organized a new appointment for job capacity assessment. Shelley said that instead of an appeal on case decision, she withdrew the appeal and organized a new job capacity assessment meeting. Well, I suppose that they did it because they knew that this lady, Katie, was not legit in somehow. So they decided to withdraw the appeal and organize a new appointment. Something that they didn't do later when the situation repeated was again happening with the next appointment that I'm going to talk later. So appointment with Glenda Bridge about nothing. On the 9th of July, the Safeway strange attitude from guys walking inside the store without buying nothing. On the 10th of July, another tour to the CBD casino. I think so easy, chatting with the security agent. More coffee. When I got back to Glen Waverley train station, I found the parking ticket on my car because I was parking more than the 3 hours. It was a few minutes after that, or a few minutes more than the 3 hours allowed. On July the 11th, Vicky called me again. Nice chat, although I think she's obliged to give me some bullshit sometimes. Like I said before, she said she was not ready to see me again yet, without giving me any reason. On the July the 13th, email from Ames, Daniela with reference to a weekly activity report with inscription Master, please do not write on me. So it was very strange. I called her. I talked to her about that, and she said that it was a master form. But if it's already written, it's not a master form anymore because you can't use it anymore. It was strange. But I'm appealing the parking fine from Glen Waverley for the Monash City Council. I called Morrow's Freight Lines chasing my super contribution from last year that I haven't been deposited in my account. ATO refund 229 in my bank account was really quick this year. On the July the 17th, more strange guys at Safeway sent an email to Glenda with my application for jobs. Answer a job rejection email to Tim Sharp asking him if our previous job interviews were organized by the police. He denied it. 18th of July, Vicky didn't call me, and later they left a brochure from Monash University over the dining room table. I was really mad about that because it was the uni that she is studying at. I thought it was some sort of threat at this stage. I thought the duo is at home were communicating with Daniela about my decisions, the lady at Ames. On the 20th of July, called Daniela and Ames to tell her that due to financial reasons I had to stop volunteering. Email from third-party containers. I was included in the shortlist. I was shortlisted for a company accountant position job. On Thursday, I sent a WhatsApp message telling her about my feelings still about intact toward her. She never answered that WhatsApp message. On the 21st of July, bizarre call from Rob from the Delica Meat from a bookkeeper position that I applied for in May. On the 22nd of July, text message from Centrelink organizing a new appointment on the 3rd of August, job capacity assessment with a new person that hopefully would be not again Kate. On the 22nd of July, called to Centrelink. I talked to Kate. Kala, sorry, I talked to Kala over the phone. She didn't know about the text message for the new appointment on the 3rd of August. Another phone call from another company called Justice, from Justice at Vertical Investment Group. I discarded the position due to the distance from home, about 45 k's. On the 23rd of July, appointment in the morning at third-party containers, Mike Law in Port Melbourne. The receptionist was coughing loud on my way out, so I knew there was another fake job interview. On 24th of July, another argument with Cherry. They insulted me. He insulted me in the process about the internet connection, the booster. The Bonaire City Council rejected my appeal of the parking fine by granting me extra time to pay it until the 29th of September, despite the fact that I told them that I've been unemployed for years. In regards to the problem with the connection, this time Cherry was not that eager to call the Optus technician like he did last time when he was not around. On the 25th of July, Vicky called me, but at the same time, Cherry was walking into the house while I was talking to her. After she was away several hours, we talked, and another call from my phone number started to get into my phone call from Vicky. So we talked about a lot of things. I said to her that I wanted to make it more regular, but it is much better that in the past. So in the past we haven't had communicated with each other so often. Other curiosity is that Vicky only calls me on Saturdays between 4 and 5. So she could have called me on other days, but she always called me on that day. She's not like that, but it's okay. It's another funny thing about what's going on lately. And the 26th of July, they left home in the morning. Charlie told me he was in the hospital. Charlie left a microwave with 54 seconds to go for cooking, Betty's age coincidentally. I went to his room to ask him if he had finished with using the microwave with a knife in my hand. On the 27th of July, I noticed somebody was in my room. I called Centrelink, and they told me the job capacity assessor was Christina this time. On the 28th of July, an email from Mike at third-party container saying that it was unsuccessful in my application. I assumed that I expected that and explained him the usual by email. On the 29th of July, another appointment at the bridge with Glenda. Told her I suspected there was a huge case of corruption involving them. She wasn't impressed. On my way out, told her somebody would pay for these things they were doing to me and my family, and here and abroad. Cherry returned from the farm. During that time, I took care of the cats anyway, because Dave was in the hospital apparently, and Cherry was away, so I took care of the cats as well. Say that Cherry told me that Cherry was undergoing a hernia surgery very soon. Of course, that never took place. I never seen them with the kind of surgery. And the 31st of July, asked Dave about his hernia surgery. He said that it was coming. The same answer was when asked about the kidney transplant. He went out for an early stroll in the morning, though. At that time, he started to go for strolls at strange times, very close by my place. I suppose he had a house nearby. On the August the 1st, after promised the day before she will call me. A text message from Vicky while I was shopping at Safeway, canceling our chat. I called 000 for that. Maybe they knew something about it. On August the 3rd, sent an email to Glenda about getting a forklift driver license. She said that she will look into it. Later appointment with Christina, same routine, describe the job capacity assessor, the new one. Same routine, describe my situation in detail. When I was walking, before that, when I was walking towards Centrelink on the street, a mature guy walking towards me. Then he turned to his car and said, I was, as I was walking near him, he said, "You defy us." And I kept walking to the Centrelink branch anyway. So I haven't been defying anyone. I'm trying to put my bike life on track. On August the 4th, a call from Hugo, most likely for another fake job interview, decided not to attend. On August the 8th, a call from Vicky. During our conversation, she told me that she's cold. Another message from them. I asked her for some recent photos as well. Every time I'm talking to Vicky, Cherry walks into the house, always a coincidence. On the 9th of August, more weird behavior at Aldi and Safeway as well, Waverly Gardens. An ad on eBay trying to sell my stuff. A call from Dean at storage. They ended up being a waste of time. I told Lynn at the storage that I suspected somebody broke into my unit. She said that she would keep an eye on that, on anything unusual. On August the 11th, despite promise of feedback on an application for a bookkeeper position I made several days ago, no news from John Gomans at Upham. And he had asked me for a job reference over the phone a few days before, another fake one. The PC I bought from Centrelink started to shut down randomly more often. Really annoying. On the August the 11th, despite all the health problems, they is doing a very normal life, coming and going. On the 12th of August, no news from appointment with Christina, so I called Glenda. She said that she didn't know anything about it. Later, an email from Diwa saying I had a new appointment this next day with a new agency, meaning that Christina did the same as Kay before. Several calls, finally to come to the conclusion. The change was not because of the contract of breach was about to expire, as I was told before, and not only that, but also as Kay did before, Christina decided to give me another year break from agency appointments until the 3rd of August 2016. Nothing of that was told me by her during my meeting, so I was really mad about it. On the 13th of August, appointment with Julie at the bridge. She asked me about experience at Safeway. The day before, she laughed at me. Perhaps she thinks I'm imagining things. I don't know. I called 000 again. On the 14th of August, called Centrelink, talked to Lackland and Sharing to appeal the decision made by Christina the last August the 3rd. This time they accepted the appeal instead of booking me with another job capacity assessment officer. That's what I said before. I posted a recent photo of myself on Twitter. On the August the 15th, Vicky sent me a WhatsApp message. Sometimes I think that she's not the one who is answering my messages, but I don't know. Saying that she couldn't talk to today and will call me over the week without any explanation. Hopefully she's not being threatened. August the 19th, Sherry returned to the house and his car was fully repaired from a crash he suffered months ago. I wonder how he does it without only the pension as income, perhaps savings, I don't know. I don't ask. On the 20th of August, sent happy birthday message to a close relative in Argentina through WhatsApp message without any answer. On the 21st of August, several calls with Centrelink and DIWA in regards to the appeal of job capacity assessment, especially the decision of my reducing work capacity assessment to 15 hours or less per week. They said that they could work on that part, but in regards to the change of the service provider, I should talk to DIWA. So I did. I mentioned that despite the decision, I still have 2 GSPs, as it is today, till this day. And they said that they couldn't do anything about it since there was an appeal still ongoing from my part. On the 22nd of August, Vicky called me. I told her that she was not obliged to call me, that she should feel free to do so when she feels like it. She replied she was busy with uni, and that was the reason of her not calling me on a regular basis. It sounded like crap to me back then, but no mention to see each other after more than 6 years. She sent me 2 photos though. On the 23rd, more problems with my PC. On the 24th, Kina, the Centrelink, returned my call from last Friday in regards to my appeal. She said it was still ongoing. She was nervous at times. On the 25th of August, at Aldi, a mature guy around me while doing my shopping, and after a while waiting to pay, he stood right behind me. That was weird. When I got back home, more problems with my PC, so I unplugged the USB modem for the Wi-Fi connection. I noticed I still had access to internet. So I checked the control panel, internet connections. I noticed another connection for a modem, which was not the one at home. So it was another brand, another modem was there, but I didn't do it. So that is how Cherry was. That was Cherry insisted with the bootstrap, because that is the way that probably from a home from another house, they were starting to look at what I was doing in my computer. Well, this is going on until today. I think they still have the ability to see what I'm doing in the computer, even right now. I started posting comments on a newspaper in Argentina called Clarín, one of the biggest, about my situation for a few days now. On the 26th of August, appointment with Centrelink over the phone from Springville branch. She reminded me of 1 year break until August 2016 and change of agency. Much worse. I told her both decisions were appealed. I told her that I told her about my suspicion about corruption, and I also told her about my decision to remain linked to the Dandenong branch. On the 27th of August, the duo at home told me that they found another place to live, and we had to vacate the unit by the 26th of September. They also said I could stay without paying the rent because it was covered by the bond until the 24th of September. I think that the decision was made before recent actions from my part. On the 28th of August, I started looking for another room. On the 29th, Vicky sent me a message cancelling the phone call from next week. The duo is really worried at home, and they cough all the time lately. On the 30th of August, tried to socialize on RSVP. They exchanged some messages with some women out there, but they also seem to know about my situation. They started to give me some indications or advice, and I recommended them to read my tweets instead, so the communication got interrupted. David found another place to live, and he's leaving early than us. So the next week he's leaving, and Cherry and I will be the last ones until the 24th. I was looking for another room desperately back then, with mixed reaction. So the 1st of September, after months of interruption, job search emails from Seek started to arrive into my inbox. That was strange. A few days ago, I called the mechanic who does the service of my car. I tried to call him again, but his number and that call disappeared from my mobile. So I called him a few days ago. I tried to call him again. When I tried to find that number, it was gone. So I was able to recover it from my previous mobile and call him again. So I'm still looking for a room without any luck. On the 4th of September, Dave is leaving the house this morning. He spent the night with Cherry, I suppose, went to Dandenong and paid the visit to Waze for a list of rooming houses. They were nervous, but Maria Rosa gave me the information I needed. She didn't have any record of the assistant they gave me back in 2009. She also booked me an appointment on the 14th. Also went to the Department of Human Services, very close by, for a bond loan application form. I'd say with more strange behavior on some guys inside the store. I called some rooming houses and they didn't call me back. Very strange. So it was like that. Sometimes I call them or send a text message. They never call me back. They was not interested in renting me a room at all. It's like having infectious disease, and it was very strange. And All the private owners were pricey though, and David asked me to help him to remove some heavy stuff from his room. I did. Later went to see another room, very small, pricey, and with other 4 tenants. I'm really disappointed at the moment with the search. On this 5th of September, I talked to Vicky. She seemed a bit sad. The next day was Father's Day, so no indication as to when we will meet again. While cooking at night, Cherry shortened the initial 10 for the 24 to the 21st of September date, on which he told me he booked a hard rubbish collection of fridge and other furniture. So I had to speed up the search for the room now. Also that night, talking about my daughter with him, I told him I hoped she could speak English without my accent. He kept quiet. I tend to believe that he implied he knew my daughter's accent, which is very worrying back then. On the 6th of September was the Father's Day, so no news from Vicky, not even was a text message. That was strange because we talked the previous day. Visited two rooms today, Jessica and Ralph in Dandenong North. That was a nice house. It's the one that I'm living now. It's a nice house with two guys living there. It's a big room, better than the other one. It was better than the other one in Jackson Road. I was sick of living in these conditions, and somehow I hope the one at Jackson Road will be the last room, but it was not the case. And I accepted the conditions. I'm planning to move in into the house on the 20th of September on 9 Cornell Grove. I don't know the address of this house that I'm living now. September the 8th, met Ralph at the house to pay $100 deposit for the room. On 9th, appointment over the phone with Centrelink. No news from my appeal on their decision. On the 10th, Ralph sent me a draft of the tenancy agreement. For the first time since 2009, I have a formal agreement for me to make some corrections. Problems with my PC got worse. I started to use an old laptop with some issues as well. On the 11th, I decided to go to Dandenong Police Station. Talked to Senior Constable Moloney in a private room. Told him about the situation at home, strange relationship with my daughter, the isolation, family and friends, etc., internet connection, etc., everything. I told him at some point that I had done the same at Springvale Station and ACO, and he said that he was a bit upset at that point. But before that, when I was waiting there, it was a female police officer coughing too. She was coughing. I asked him, this officer, Moloney, I asked him if it was whether there was an AVO on me. He said that I should have been notified about that. The only time I saw a bit of reaction from him was when I mentioned David's boxes unopened from medical supplies, and on that occasion he paused a bit. At some point, like I said before, at some point I told him that I had it saying at Springvale Police Station in Asia, and he said a bit upset that I couldn't shopping around with my problems to other police stations. But well, it's something that I had to do. I don't know, and I never heard from him ever since. The same day before, when I was driving towards the Dandenong Police Station, Vicky sent me a text message saying that she was not going to call me the next day since she was going out with a friend. On the 14th of September, suddenly a new PM, the number 5 since 2010. I don't expect any changes. On the 15th of September, went to Europa Market nearby to buy some groceries. There were some guys wandering in the parking lot and others inside walking around without buying anything. I asked Dave if he was planning to move next door due to the continuous strolls nearby. My comments on Clarín on the newspaper and Clarín has been moderated, although they were not offensive in any shape or form. I started to post on another local newspaper, La Nación. In regards to Clarín, I had to say that I sent them an email on the 29th of December to two journalists there, and I never heard from them. On the 17th of September, same situation, trying to post on Clarín, more censorship suspected at this point, remains to this day. The inability for me to post any comment is still there. On the 19th of September, Vicky sent me a message saying that she was sick and couldn't talk. At this point, considering how things were unfolding, I believe that the new house at Cunelda is a continuation of the one that I'm living was before, with different actors. I also believe the government of Argentina is somehow involved in all of this. The 20th of September, the last day at Jackson's Road, helped been Cherry to take out some stuff to the front garden from her rubbish collection. For her rubbish collection, he seemed worried at sometimes and wished me good luck. I moved into Cunelda Grove with Hani and Yasser. I think they all, including Ralph, know about me, who do they work for is early days, but it's always the same pattern of cordiality at first and lots of bullshit afterwards. On the 21st of September, as I said, it only took a few hours for them to start coughing and the toilet seat and all the indications. I notified the storage I'm moving my things out in 2 weeks after 6 years using the house garage. For me now, I put all the things in the garage. I still have problems with my PC, so I'm using an old laptop with overheating problems. Hani talks more than Yasser, who doesn't speak fluent English. 22nd of September, I started to notice similarities of the duo at home with Dave and Cherries. At night, arguing with Hani about security lights outside when I'm trying to sleep. Perhaps he's on drugs, I don't know. On the 23rd of September, the guys at home seem to be better administrators of their Centrelink money according to the type of food they have. They are on Centrelink on New Start. They are on a pension, so the same money that I got, and neither of them working. On the 24th of September, up to Snell, out of order, several hours. Went to Jackson's to pick up the mail of if any. When leaving, honked my horn, and the guy from the 28 waved at me, giving me his back. On the 24th of September, the same day, regarding cars honking their horns here, although it's a street without more traffic, it continues. On the 25th of September, called Virgin about a new handset. Mine's battery is not working well. It's an HTC One. I believe it's hacked, as I said before, but the employee gave me confusion information and talked to Kina and Centrelink about the appeal of 3rd of August, but there were not any news about it. I can't sleep well due to security lights of the house night inside my room. I talked to Ralph and authorized me to turn them off. Hani mentioned a car parking behind him. I didn't understand what he meant. On the 25th of September, booked a truck to bring my stuff from the storage from the 30th of September. Yasser promised to give me a hand. On the 26th of September, Vicky called me. We had a nice chat, brought some stuff from storage in my car. When I got back home, another altercation with Hani. At night, we talked. He denied he was hiding something, but while talking, he seemed to know it. I went to buy a DVD and also seems to know about my mother and my family. Ralph is living with the trolley to bring my stuff. Ralph is lending me the trolley to bring my stuff. On the 27th of September, Yasser has problems with his back. That's the reason that he couldn't help me out, and Hani offered me his help instead to move my stuff. On the 28th of September, while bringing some stuff into the garage, I was locked out by the guys at home. I knocked at Hani's window, and he got really upset. He was taking a nap and sleeping. Later at 2:30 a.m., he went out to check his car and turn on the lights outside. Neighbors across the road turned the security lights for the first time. Exchanged messages with Ralph about the situation at home. The guys at home seemed to be angry at each other. On the 29th, changed my photo on Twitter with a selfie I took on the 3rd of July on the train at Glen Waverly with a guy behind me, coughing all the time all the way to the city. Hani made a comment about Betty. I hope it's not a threat. On the 30th of September, made the move myself of all the stuff with the truck. Neither Hani nor Yasser helped me out for different reasons. Yasser told me that he has a problem with his back. The argument with the employee at Storage King Karen Downs about not refunding me the money for unused time of my unit. I threatened them with lodging a complaint with the ACCC, and they accepted the refund. At night, Ralph brought rent certificate for Centrelink, a form for Centrelink. On the October the 1st, went to Centrelink to change my address and to find out what about my appeal. They didn't know anything about it, although more people coughing while waiting. At night, Harry using his car at 3 a.m. with his lights inside my room and plenty of noise. Rod said he's a good guy though. On the 2nd of October, I think Honey can see what I'm doing in my phone, as Dave used to do, coughing when checking some specifics. On the 3rd of October, Vicky cancelled over chat, giving unlikely reasons. On the 4th of October, stopped talking to Honey. Ralph came by at night to pick up the trolley and gave some bullshit about work, my ex, my daughter, etc. On October the 5th, more petty conflict at home about chores in the house. My old laptop is overheating and I need either repair the PC or buy a new laptop. I changed the address on my driver's license, but the new label shows only my surname. I went to National Bank, Waverly Gardens, to apply for a credit card to buy a new laptop, but Paul, the employee, Paul, rejected my application based on my low income, but not mentioned at all to my credit card report from Vida, as they did last time when I applied for a credit card in 2013. Because I applied for that in 2013 and they sent me a letter. They rejected my application based on the Vida report, credit report. This time it was not the case. They told me that it was because of my low income. On the 6th of October, another heated argument with Honey about nothing. Talked to Ralph. He said that he will do something about it. I think Ralph signed the lease on my behalf. He denied it. I told him he denied it. And on the 7th of October, went to Chatston to pick up the new handset from Virgin, an iPhone 6, basically to try to stop the manipulation of my old phone. And Liz was the employee, was waiting for me at the store. She somehow knew I never had an iPhone before. It's amazing, but she knew that. October the 8th, which was the case. This is my first iPhone. I never had an iPhone before. I always had all the other brands. On October the 8th, Neil Carroll, an authorized review officer from Centrelink, called me today in regards to my appeal of the meeting of the 3rd of August. 1.5 hours over the phone, explaining my situation. He ended up saying he was unable to make a decision without previous consultation with others first. He didn't say who were they, though. I emphasized that it was me who has been pushing for a new assessment due to my long unemployment, etc., including my reports to the police, ACO, etc. He replied he never heard of any suspicious activity in his organization, meaning Centrelink. I also told him that previous and present government were aware of my situation, but have done anything at all. I haven't done anything at all. He acknowledged that there were some infrequent events and promised an answer over the next days. Infrequent events in terms of what I was telling him in my story. He sounded as he knew more than he wanted to admit. At some point, he said that somehow I said that someone else perhaps would be happy. He told me that. He said that someone else would be happy of not complying with the regular appointments with those providers. Well, that is ridiculous because what I want is to end the situation of unemployment. He also argued that the 1-year break was granted in order to relieve me of pressure. And I replied that there is no bigger pressure than living on $600 a fortnight for 6 years now. So the pressure is still now on me. not because they gave me a break. It's ridiculous. October the 8th, called Ralph about his chat with Honey. He said he later would call me. On the 9th, more problems at 2:30 a.m. with Honey, turning the lights. Talked to Ralph and said he won't kick him out. Previous night, I got a heated altercation with Honey. It became almost physical, which I told him he was doing the same stuff. During that altercation, I told him that he was doing the same stuff that Cherry and Dave before. He denied it. I sent a message to Ralph at 3 a.m., but he didn't answer. Told him to start looking for another place. On October the 10th, went for a bike ride this morning for the second time, living in this neighborhood, and noticed some angry people. Ralph sent me a message about Hani is saying what happens that night and following days. Vicky sent me a message saying that she will call me next week without explanation. More lights, noises from Hani at 1 a.m. Texted Ralph. No answer, I'm looking for another place. On the 11th, talked to Yasser. He's also fed up with Hani. I asked him if he wanted to leave the house. He said yes, but in a few months. During our chat, I asked Yasser whether Hani was gay, and he remained silent. They seem to have a strange relationship. Now they are talking to each other more often. On the 12th of October, exchange messages with Ralph in regards of my situation. He's not worried with me leaving the house, so I reminded him of our lease agreement, which includes quietness during night hours, and I was prepared to seek legal assistance for that. On the October the 12th, Ralph decided to organize a meeting at home with all of us. Before that, Yasser was very interested in buying my old handsets, either the HTC One or the older Samsung Galaxy Note. I told him that I needed to extract the information first from them. He also suggested that for me to apply for a pension due to my age. At night, meeting at home, all of us, I remarked the similarities to what was happening at Jackson's Road. In the end, we agreed to swap car park places with me now parking my car on the driveway right here. He was not happy with the change, but accepted. I also agreed on taking turns to do the chores of at home. On October the 13th, called Ben Hanna at Good Shape Dandenong, trying to refinance the loan I'm still repaying because of the I wanted to buy a laptop for the PC that is not working. He said that I couldn't. I had to wait until I repay this one, so I decided to buy a second-hand one on eBay. I found Rachel in Eltham. A long travel is 40 k's from here. It was a good price though, and it's still working. It's the one that I'm using now. At her home, she told me that her husband didn't know anything about computers, but he was the administrator. Though she was a bit nervous at times, but she made some comments and asked questions which indicated she knew things about me. I wanted to perform a clean installation of the laptop to get rid of some old stuff from Cameron, but she didn't have the drivers. So I called Toshiba, and they assisted me over the phone. I couldn't find the hard disk. I couldn't format the hard disk though, so perhaps some residents are still there. Letter from Neil Carroll on the 15th of October. I received the letter from Neil Carroll dated on the 8th of October. I received it 1 week after that. On the 15th of October, a letter from Neil Carroll which said that he reverted back the decision from Christina on the 3rd of August, extending limited work capacity from 15 to 22 hours a week, meaning I should resume regular contacts with the agency as soon as possible. This would end the break until August the 3rd next year. They previously decided. He called it a partial success of my appeal, and I think it was. I think they because of my calls, my explanation, all the things that I've been telling them, and they made that decision. But wait for it because it's more coming. And the 16th of October, since we swapped car park places, Hani stopped going out in the middle of the night. On the 17th of October, after 3 weeks of not doing it, Vicky called me and we had a good chat, although she always sounded a bit manipulated. On the 18th of October, Hani started talking loud, long hours during the night. Ralph was unaware of that, and more coffee at Aldi and Subway while doing my shopping. On the 19th of October, another call to Sue at Morrow Freight Lines, chasing my super contribution from last year. Talk to Sue at night. More yelling from Hani from his room. 20th of October, call out Centrelink trying to talk to Neil, but nobody answered the phone. Yasser come yesterday knocking my door to complain about Hani's noises during the night. He said that he had spoken to Ralph about it already. Apparently he talked to Hani because he was quiet that night. On the 23rd, went to the CBD this morning, although I didn't say a word about it. Lots of people were aware of, including the boys in blue who warned me last night with a siren nearby. this is what I was talking about with talking about the voice. Sometimes I didn't say anything about doing something, but they knew anyway, because this voice is able to connect with me somehow, the psychic, and know what I'm thinking. I don't know how they do it, but they do it. It's crazy, isn't it? It sounds crazy. Maybe you think I'm crazy, but look, if you like it, fine. If you don't, well, you can watch other shows on TV. 24th of October, Henry resumed his noise conversations from midnight until today. Vicky texted me saying she couldn't call me because she's preparing for incoming exams. On the 25th of October, yesterday, Yasser brought a guy interested in buying my washing machine. It was a waste of time. On the 26th of October, I wrote it on Twitter about an Argentinian guy I met briefly here in Melbourne in 2008. Daniel Derevicius, who had a great premonition by telling me you might lost contact with your daughter back then in 2008, and it eventuated among other bullshit. He never made contact with me again, and his business card was stolen along the way. He used to live in Livingston, New Jersey, USA. On the 27th of October, another noisy night from Honey noticed that Yasser left the house every day, early in the morning, doesn't eat at home, neither lunch or dinner, rarely. I wonder how does he manage to do that with the same money that I receive from Centrelink. Does he go to a house nearby, as Cherry and Dave used to do at Jackson's? I don't know. On the 28th of October, yesterday, talked to Ralph about Honey issues. He said he thought he has stopped with noises at night. He said he will talk to him again. Where they are associated or not is a question I cannot answer, but Yasser sent a Ralph message saying that he will leave the house if nothing is done about the noises. On the 29th of October, called Neil Carroll. He said that he didn't receive the message I left with Kay last week, and we had a bizarre conversation at times about his letter and his inability to put in place his decision into the system. Apparently there is a team that should be in charge of translating his decisions into the system, and because of that his YMAT situation remains the same, without contact with anybody. Finally, he said that he would be trying to put in place his own decisions, and therefore I will be back in the game. I'm quoting here. I mentioned the appeal before administrative. I mentioned him the appeal before the administrative tribunal, which is another avenue, but he was reluctant and recommended me to escalate through another way and within the Centrelink. He promised to call me back with an update. On the 31st, there are more on Twitter about these things. For now on, you find more information on Twitter if you like, but this is a nutshell what I was wanting to say. On the 31st of October, Vicky called me in the afternoon. She had exams coming up this week. On the 4th of November, called Neil Carroll again and said he said that he remembered me. He remembered my case. He said he was unable to put in place his decisions. He replied. He said that he had no authorization to make those changes into the system. Being an authorized review officer, he had no authorization to make those changes into the system. I asked him if he was the CIA involved and he didn't have enough clearance. Of course, I was joking, and he said that he didn't. So he gave me a 1-800 number for me to call. I called them and talked to Justine. She said that they were overloaded with work, although she acknowledged that it was unacceptable considering the letter was dated on the 8th of October. November the 5th, despite her promise, I haven't heard from Justine. And so more bizarre behavior at Waverly Gardens while doing my shopping. Honey leaves microwave with numbers of cooking remaining time, as Cherry used to do at Jackson's Road. Neighbors at 7 leave their door open at times, as they did at 28. On the 6th of November, called the 1-800 Centrelink number trying to talk to Justine, but a guy who picked up the phone first hung up when I started to tell my story, called them again, and this time was Kim. I explained her my situation. Justine was on sick leave. She put me on hold and said that later she was able to make the changes into the system. She also confirmed that Matchworks should be the job service providers from now on, since Bridge was for those impaired by a disability. We kept talking, giving her more details, and told her I suspected a big case of corruption was the reason of my unemployment and isolation from family and friends, and said that an internal investigation should be launched into her organization, something she emphatically rejected. She then said that I should contact Matchworks to organize an appointment, something I did straight away, but they told me that the suspension until the 3rd of August hasn't been lifted. Curiously enough, a few minutes later, noticed from my room that a police patrol was parked right on the entrance of our driveway. It was there for a few minutes with the lights on and left a few minutes later. The first time that happened here in this on this house. Yes, I was watching TV in the living room, waiting for a government visit, and I didn't see anything. He said that he didn't have any problems back in his country, Lebanon. I told him that me neither, myself, and so I except for some speeding fines. The 7th of November, November the 7th, Vicky called me saying that she was not going to call me perhaps this week without any explanation. On the 10th of November, I kept calling 1-800 trying to find a solution to my problem. They kept telling me they did it, but it's not happening. Now it's Josh, the one that I is promising something that will not happen. Then Anthony, and so on. As nobody was able to help me, I asked for a superior to talk to somebody in a higher level. So a lady from Queensland took charge, and I talked to her and explained her again everything. Helen was her name. On November the 13th, and since I haven't heard from anybody, Helen or anybody else, on November the 13th, I decided to go to Centrelink Dandenong to try to fix the problem in person. When I got to the counter, an employee told me that the system was down and couldn't do anything at all. And I showed them the letter dated on 8th of October. The guy called in another lady who told me pretty much the same. I said if at least she could have a look at the letter that I had signed by Neil Carroll, another Centrelink employee. She said it was not relevant and she didn't know when the system would be back on again. I asked for the manager of the job capacity assessor. She said I was not available and didn't have his phone number either. Later this was contradicted by Chris, but I'm gonna get there later, meaning she was lying. I told her that there was a lot of corruption there, raising my voice, and she walked away. So I decided to wait there rather than coming back later as suggested by them. As I was waiting, I noticed that other people were being called. So I asked another employee what was going on with the system. He seemed uncomfortable. A few minutes later, the system recovered from its grave, and I was called to talk with the team leader, Chris. I described the situation all over again to him, the whole lot, and he was able this time to remove the mark which prevented the system to lift the suspension. Coincidentally, the mark was left behind by Kate on her assessment last 23rd of June. He said that the problem would be solved over the next 24 hours, and the job capacity assessor Tony will be back from the street at 11:30. That's something that the other lady told me, that completely different than what the other lady told me. So the job capacity assessor manager was Tony, and he was available, and we were back at 11:30. While waiting, a male employee made some strange things, but that's okay. It's more on Twitter if you like. On the November the 16th, I called Matchworks. They confirmed the suspension. Was lifted, and a new appointment will be organized shortly. Helen called to tell me that the problem I solved the last Friday. She called me to tell me about the problem that I was able to solve last Friday. And she mentioned a small victory, but it's not enough for me. On the November the 17th, I checked the government website and noticed an appointment at Matchwork for the 23rd of November, after several months of no contacts with anybody at all. So the last contact with the Joseph brother was the end of July, something like that. Since that time, I haven't had any kind of help trying to find me a job. I don't know why. Well, if you have heard me so far, if you have been listening to so far, you will see why. On the 19th of November, I called Matchworks and asked for them if the consultant for next appointment would be Maria, a woman that Honey told me could get me a job very quickly when we talked about my situation in September. They said it would be somebody else. When I mentioned to her the guy living in the house I live, the guy living in the house I live, she made a post like she knew about me. On the 20th of November, Jesse goes out more often and he spent all day long in his room. On the 21st of November, I talked to Vicky. She seemed a bit uncomfortable at first, but it was nice though. She will be traveling the next week, so we will resume contact in December. On the 23rd of November, I met Paul at Matchworks. There was a bizarre reference to 1978 Football World Cup in a country which is Australia that essentially doesn't regard football as very Australian and call it soccer. It was very strange coming from him. Apparently, this was the year that this woman Carly Hall was born, the psychic that I mentioned before. Oh, I suppose, I don't know. I don't know who is who in this story, but the previous voice she used to say that she was this woman. In return, I sent him an email explaining the situation, talking about this woman as well. That I reported her to the Australian Federal Police in 2012. He also told me that a forklift driver license could be afforded if I had a concrete job offer. Someday I wrote a letter to the same day I wrote a letter to the new Prime Minister, Malcolm Turnbull, as I did with previous ones, with Gillian Gilliard and Tony Abbott. I quickly realized that my experience with Matchworks is going to be identical to those I worked with before. Unfortunately, on the 24th of November, Paul called me to tell me that I had a cleaner job in Bologna, but just is 15 hours a week. Some food disappeared from my fridge. On the 26th of November, I called Morrow's Freight Lines again, chasing my super contribution from November 2014. Talked to David Morrows. We exchanged some phone calls with Paul and Matchworks. I got the impression he's bullying me. The 30th of November, after a long time without talking to each other, Izzy called me to ask me help with his taxes. Unbelievable. On the December the 1st, more calls from Izzy. He left a message again. I returned a message answering I'm no longer doing that kind of service on taxes. I'm more on the other part of bookkeeping. I called Aravanis asking for paperwork about my bankruptcy. He said that Rohil, he said that he sent it to me. He sent that a while ago to another address. I also called ITSA, the organization that regulates all the bankruptcies in this country. On the December the 1st, received this morning the documentation from Aravanis as promised by Rohil. On the 3rd, Credit Repair Australia has been calling me non-stop until yesterday actually. There is a neighbor who is started to show similarities with what happened at Jackson's Road. On the 11th, the December the 5th, Vicky cancelled our phone chat for a colleague's birthday. On the 11th, another appointment at Matchworks. This one was with Paul. He asked me for a list of job applications. I said that I sent him my email. We talked about, he didn't seem very happy about that. He talked about mutual obligations. I said that exactly there was mutual obligations, but it seems that it's only one-sided. It's only from my part the obligations, not from them. I asked him if he received my email when I put the links to my videos. He said that he did, but he didn't have any time to watch them. I'm well, what I'm saying is that basically I told you that I was describing a case of corruption in those videos, in this one as well. And if it surfaced, he could be in serious. There could be serious consequences for them, for him and Maria, and all people involved. He got really upset, but said he didn't have time to watch the videos. Maria came later, offered me a factory job. I felt bullied, and that's at some point on my way up. She was outside on the walk path and laughing at me, and coughing loud. I asked her if she had a cold. To be honest, I felt bullied. That was how I felt. There's more on Twitter, if you like. On the 12th, last Saturday, Vicky called me, mentioning her. I mentioned her in my videos because I wanted to. Well, she's 20, almost 22 now, so I don't want her to hear this from other people. So I wanted her to know this from my mouth, saying that if she feels threatened, she or her mother feels threatened at some point or by any way, she should leave this place and find another place in another country. I don't know, because there's a lot of strange behavior. I know this. I'm talking about my daughter here. I'm talking about my ex-wife that I lived more than 15 years. I'm not talking about the guy across the road. So these people, I know these people. So I know what I can expect. I know a lot of things about them. So I know that perhaps they are going through a tough period of warnings, or I don't know. I don't know. To be honest, I don't know. But in any case, I told her that about what I'm doing, and hopefully it won't bring any consequences on them. But I think that pretty much is enough. I think it's been a long video, too long. But look, it's something that I had to do for a lot of reasons that I explained already. My age, the fact that that I feel that I had to do something about it. So I hope that you enjoyed it. Maybe you didn't, but in any case, if you did, well, thank you, and see you next time, because I'm planning to do more in the future. Thank you. Bye.